Antioch, 260 AD. A silversmith named Marcus holds two coins, both denarii. Both carry the emperor's face. One is a lie. The coin in his left hand, minted 40 years ago under Septimius Severus, is 50% pure silver. Heavy. It rings when dropped on stone. The coin in his right hand arrived yesterday from the imperial mint. Lighter. The surface is silver, barely. Beneath it, bronze. A core wrapped in metal thin enough to wear off in weeks. Marcus doesn't know the word debasement. He doesn't know Rome's treasury has been draining silver from coins for 2 centuries. He only knows what his hands tell him. Something is being taken. Slowly, invisibly, by people he'll never meet. He walks to the back of his workshop, lifts a loose stone and places the old coin with 42 others. Pure silver. Coins he will never spend. Coins that will save his family when the empire's money dies. This is the documented survival protocol from the greatest monetary collapse in Western history. And what Marcus understood is the same thing most gold stackers today have completely backwards. Everyone paying attention knows the pattern. Governments spend more than they collect, print money to cover the gap, currency loses value, people flee to alternatives, system collapses. Weimar, Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Argentina, Lebanon, mathematical, predictable. The advice has been the same for 50 years. Stack gold, stack silver. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. But when you forensically examine the collapse Marcus lived through, the longest documented currency debasement in history, gold ranked far below something else. Precious metals preserved wealth, yes, but they didn't generate it, didn't produce income, didn't address the mechanism that determined who survived and who starved. The purpose of the asset matters more than the asset itself. Rome under Augustus, 20 AD. The denarius is 98% pure silver. That coin is trusted from Britain to Egypt. A merchant in Londinium accepts the same denarius as Alexandria because the silver is consistent, verifiable, real. The denarius made the empire possible. Not legions, not roads. The currency. A single unit of account holding value across 3,000 miles. For 300 years that trust held. You could bite it, weigh it, melt it. The silver was there. Then came pressures, wars on multiple frontiers, an expanding army demanding more pay, emperors competing for loyalty through spectacles, the cost of maintaining empire without conquest to fund it. The solution was simple and invisible. Take in coins as taxes, melt them, add copper, mint new coins at the same face value, pay the bills. It started under Nero, 64 AD. He reduced silver from 99% to 90%. Most Romans didn't notice. Coins looked the same, but money changers noticed. Germanic tribes beyond the frontier noticed. They began requesting older coins in trade, pure denarii. They understood instinctively that not all denarii were equal. Once debasement began, it proved impossible to stop. Emperor after emperor reduced silver content, always with reasons. Military campaigns, plague relief, border defense, each debasement small enough to rationalize, collectively catastrophic. By Septimius Severus around 200 AD, the denarius was 50% silver. By 260 AD, under 5%. Here's what changes everything. When Nero debased currency, prices didn't immediately rise. The adjustment took years, sometimes decades. This lag made debasement irresistible. An emperor could debase today, enjoy the benefit, leave inflation for successors. A measure of wheat costing 6 drachmas in the 1st century rose to 200 by 276 AD, 3,000% inflation over 2 centuries. Then the 3rd century arrived. Between 235 and 284 AD, over 50 men claimed emperor. Average reign, less than 2 years. Most were commanders proclaimed by troops, most killed by those troops when rivals appeared. Each faced the same problem. Money for military accession bonuses. Without it, loyalty uncertain. The solution, always the same. Debase. Silver content collapsed from 50% to under 5% in 1 generation. By Gallienus in the 260s, coins were bronze cores with thin silver wash wearing off in weeks. By 268, silver content fell to half of 1%. Prices rose 1,000% in a generation. Soldiers demanded higher pay. Emperors debased further. Prices rose more. The cycle fed itself until currency stopped being trusted. Merchants refused imperial coins. They demanded older coins, gold, or returned to barter. Rome's trade network fragmented. Roads became dangerous. Merchants stayed home. The interconnected economy dissolved into something smaller, local, desperate. Three things survived. Gold is only one, not the most important. First, productive land under direct control. When trade collapsed and denarii became worthless, food became the unit of value. Landowners growing wheat and olives on their estates, processing with their workers, trading locally, didn't need currency. Large landowners stopped exporting for money, shifted to subsistence and barter. Adaptation. Self-sufficient estates replaced the trade network. Second, physical gold and older silver coins outside institutions. Romans understood Gresham's law before it had a name. When coins carry same face value but different intrinsic value, people spend worse ones, hoard better. Older high silver denarii disappeared. People kept them, spent debased coins. Gold ori retained value. By mid-3rd century, prices calculated in gold to silver ratio, 25:1 under Augustus, reached 1,000:1 by the 260s. Gold holders measured wealth and stability. Denarii holders watched savings erode. But here's what nobody talks about. The third survivor. Practical skills and community relationships. Long-distance trade collapsed. People fell back on what existed within walking distance. Craftsman, farmer, physician, builder. Value immediate, local, impossible to inflate away. Regions holding up best, Egypt and North Africa, maintained local economies outside debased currency. They exchanged goods, organized labor, recorded debts through relationships, not imperial money. Marcus survived not just from hoarded silver. He survived because he worked metal. Farmers needed tools repaired. Merchants needed scales calibrated. His skill had value regardless of the mint. Coins preserved accumulated wealth. Skill generated income, both necessary. Only one was the mistake. What went to zero? Cash savings in denarii. Brutal math. A citizen in 150 AD holding 100 denarii had 75% silver. Same citizen in 270 held barely 2% silver. Face value unchanged. Purchasing power gone. Government transferred wealth from savers incrementally through a mechanism most could sense but never name. Urban commerce collapsed. Cities required safe roads, trusted currency, supply chains. When all failed, populations fell. People left for countryside seeking food. Every promise denominated in denarii destroyed. Contracts, pensions, debts. When denarii lost 98% silver over 2 centuries, every promise lost real value proportionally. Government honored face value. Face value meant nothing. Most assume the Roman story is hoarding gold, waiting for collapse. The forensic record shows something different. Romans surviving best weren't ones just holding gold. They understood what gold does and doesn't do. Gold preserves purchasing power across regime changes, cannot be debased by decree, recognized universally. But gold produces nothing, generates no income, addresses no immediate need. When Marcus held pure denarii under the floor, insurance. When he repaired a plow for grain, income. The distinction matters because collapse took 2 centuries. During those centuries, people needed to eat, work, survive day to day while currency died around them. Contemporary warning signs everywhere. U.S. debt passed $38 trillion, 2026. Interest costs surpassed $1.2 trillion, more than Medicare, more than defense. Fed balance sheet $4.2 trillion to $9 trillion, 2020 to 2022. M2 jumped 25% in 2020. Central banks bought over 1,000 tons gold in 2022, 2023, 2024. 3 years above 1,000 tons, double prior decade average, not actions of institutions confident in paper, actions hedging scenarios they won't discuss. Poland's central bank remembering 1920s hyperinflation, most aggressive gold buyer, targeting 20% reserves in physical metal. They remember what Marcus knew. Paper fails, physical holds, but the forensic record forces confrontation. Even people holding gold through entire crisis, coming out with purchasing power intact, weren't wealthy, preserved. Difference. Preservation isn't profit. survival. If your strategy is preservation without production, you're positioned for one outcome, not the other. The optimal protocol Romans used combined three elements: physical metals for wealth preservation, productive assets for ongoing income, community networks for security when systems failed. All three, not one, not two. In practice, you hold physical gold and silver outside banking, not certificates, not ETFs. Physical metal you control. Insurance against monetary failure, but you don't stop. Develop practical skills with local value. Food production, repair, medical knowledge, skills generating value regardless of currency. Build relationships with neighbors, organizations, people with complementary skills. When trade networks fragment, people with local infrastructure survive better than isolated individuals with gold in safes. Romans, making it through, held metals, had productive capacity, maintained community. Ones with only one element struggled or failed. The lesson from 260 AD isn't stack gold. Understand what gold does, position accordingly. Gold is insurance, not income. Preservation, not production. Protects accumulated wealth across regime changes, but doesn't feed you, doesn't generate cash flow, doesn't give value to trade for immediate needs. Marcus kept 43 pure denarii under his floor, never spent during crisis, used after, when Rome stabilized under Diocletian with new coinage. Those coins bought family land outside Antioch during rebuilding. Preservation means not getting rich during collapse, coming out the other side with options when everyone has nothing. Subscribe to Independent Financial Historian. This channel examines what actually happened, documented evidence, real outcomes, so you read the pattern before it repeats. Drop a denarius in comments if you're building the protocol. The question isn't whether currency will be debased. The answer across civilizations is consistent. The question is whether you're positioned before coins become lighter. Marcus understood what most miss. Sound money isn't a government gift, it's discipline. And discipline in empires is always first to go. Stack metals, yes, but stack skills, stack relationships, stack productive capacity. Because when the denarius died in the 4th century, survivors weren't ones with most gold. They were ones with gold and something else. Build the protocol before you need it.